They call the ship Big John. For 25 years, this giant of the seas has served whenever and wherever the national call has directed. France, Italy, Egypt, the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the Adriatic. On October 7th, 1992, took USS John F. Kennedy from the pier in Norfolk for her 14th major deployment since commissioning on September 7th, 1968. On that sunny day in October, this 80,000-ton and fossil fuel-powered aircraft carrier set sail as the flagship of the commander of Carrier Group 2. And as in the past 25 years and 14 parting deployments, Big John left behind those who care the most, the families and friends who give the crew a reason to go and the reason to return. The ship left with a sense of purpose in that early October to protect national interests far away. Big John gathered her battle group, the cruisers Wainwright, Lady Gulf, Gettysburg, the frigates Halliburton, Capodanno, McInerney, the Spruance-class destroyer Cara, the attack submarines Seahorse and Albuquerque, the support ships Puget Sound, Kalamazoo, Santa Barbara, and crossed the broad Atlantic to take over patrol of the Mediterranean from the Saratoga Battle Group off Italy on October 22nd. Kennedy then became the flagship of the commander Battle Force 6th Fleet, a mobile forward-deployed force capable of taking powerful deterrence or striking power rapidly from the sea. We're ready. This is Big John, a legend of a ship, named after a legend of a man. These are the men and the machinery that have made the ship run strong for 25 years. Big John is powered by 8 1,200-pound steam boilers driving 4 shafts, each turning a 21-foot-high screw. Kennedy is capable of about 30 knots of aerial speed, or 35 miles per hour. Kennedy is 1,051.5 feet long, equivalent to over 3 football fields, with a flight deck of 4.5 acres, which is 252 feet at the widest point. Below the main deck, the hangar bay of Kennedy has 7 more decks. 10 levels rise above the hangar bay. The highest mast is 212 feet above the waterline, and 34 feet of the hull is below the waterline. From the keel to the mast top, Kennedy is equivalent to a 23-story building. The hangar bay is divided into a forward and aft section, with large doors to isolate the 2 sections. The hangar bay houses aircraft for maintenance and repairs, and provides a storage area to allow greater flexibility for handling aircraft on the flight deck. To move aircraft from the hangar bay to the flight deck, Big John has 4 aircraft elevators, 3 on the starboard side and 1 on the port side aft. These elevators have a capacity of 100,000 pounds and are able to move aircraft up or down in only seconds. On the flight deck, aircraft are launched by one of 4 catapults. At the end of the catapult stroke, aircraft attain speeds of up to 130 knots. Aircraft can be launched at the rate of more than 1 per minute. Aircraft trap or land on the 880-foot-long landing area at speeds between 85 and 125 knots and catch one of the 4 arresting gear wires called cross-deck pendants with their tail hooks, pulling the arresting gear wire out of the electro-hydraulically operated arresting gear engines. The 3rd wire from the stern is usually the one the aircraft try to catch. If aircraft miss the wires, they apply full power to go around to try again. In the event of an emergency, aircraft can be trapped by the barricade net, as this A-7 was during Operation Desert Storm after it had lost its nose gear going off the catapult. Landing Signals Officers, or LSOs, give advice and directions to the pilots during the final stage of their landings. Control and coordination of the flight deck is from Primary Flight Control. Here, the air boss directs all traffic within 10 nautical miles of the ship and, with the assistance of flight deck control, orchestrates the ballet of the multicolored shirts belonging to the flight deck crew. The green shirts are the maintenance personnel and equipment operators on the flight deck. The men wearing yellow shirts are the aircraft handlers. They direct the movement of aircraft from and on the flight deck and hangar bay. Those wearing blue shirts handle chocks and chains. They make sure that aircraft are secure on deck when they are not being moved. The men wearing purple shirts are the flight deck fuel handlers. They operate the refueling rigs on and below decks, sample the fuel, and account for its use in the aircraft. The crewmen wearing red shirts are either ordnance men or part of the crash and salvage crew. The ordies load, unload, and arm aircraft weapons on the flight deck. The crash and salvage crews stand ready to deal with emergencies. White shirts have various functions. Some are final checkers, responsible for the last once-over of the aircraft when it is on the catapult just before launch. Some are safety observers. Some are checking for quality control, and some are medical personnel. Brown shirts belong to the plane captains. These men are assigned to the various squadrons of the ship's carrier Air Wing 3. The Air Wing is composed of 2 F-14 Tomcat squadrons, the VF-14 Top Hatters, and the VF-32 Swordsmen. Both Tomcat squadrons are from Naval Air Station Oceana in Virginia. 2 FA-18 Hornet squadrons, the gunslingers of VFA-105, VFA-37 Bulls, from Naval Air Station Cecil Field in Florida. 1 A-6 Intruder squadron, the Sunday Punchers of VA-75 from Oceana. 1 EA-6B Prowler Squadron, the VAQ-130 Zappers from Naval Air Station Whidbey Island in Washington State. VAW-126, an E-2C Hawkeye Squadron, nicknamed the Seahawks, from Naval Air Station Norfolk, Virginia. The Checkmates of VS-22 and S-3B Viking Squadron, and the HS-7 Shamrocks, an SH-3 Sea King helicopter squadron from Naval Air Station, Jacksonville, Florida. A specialized aircraft assigned to and deployed with the ship and air wing for the first time ever with Big John's 1992-93 deployment was the C-2A Greyhound. The C-2A is the carrier onboard delivery airliner of the fleet. The CODs provided a vital link between the shore and the ship, bringing aboard new shipmates and taking old friends back home. They bring visitors and more visitors, and news media and packages from home. The plane captains of the aircraft in the squadrons are responsible for ensuring that their aircraft are ready to go. That diverse group of brave men perform the flight deck ballet, a complicated but well-orchestrated dance of men and machines. With the officer of the deck on the ship's bridge. Here is where the ship is steered and orders given to its 200,000 horsepower plus engineering plant. Here, too, the captain spends most of his days and nights exercising command of this mighty warship, the centerpiece of the Expeditionary Carrier Battle Group, able to take powerful deterrence or battle from the sea to anywhere, rapidly and decisively.
I think that there is a general understanding of the value of these ships, aircraft carriers, and that you can only do so much with so few. And if you cut yourself down to 10, you'll have some difficulties meeting all the commitments that we expect of the aircraft carriers. Right now, we've got a commitment in the Adriatic. We may have a commitment in the Eastern Mediterranean. We will always have a commitment, it seems, in the Persian Gulf. And we'd like to have one down off Somalia, I think, while those incidents are continuing. frankly, I think we're going to stay with 12 carriers, and this is going to be one of the 12 because the material condition that we do enjoy is such that it warrants keeping John F. Kennedy around. And following this 2-year overhaul up in Philadelphia, I think we're going to be in a better position to support the fleet. We're going to be younger, if you will, and able to stay around for 10 more years and support the fleet and be available as a major contributor.
From Kennedy comes the mighty air arm of the battle group, able to take surveillance, ground shots, armed cover, air cover, or a strike package into the beach rapidly and at extended ranges. But the men who fly the airplanes and control the flight deck can't do the job alone. Control and support comes from many areas. Command and control of the entire battle group comes from the embarked flag officer, the commander of Carrier Group 2 and his staff. Embarked on Kennedy, they plan, control, and monitor the air, surface, and subsurface operations of the units in the battle group and ensure readiness to carry out each mission. The group staff also provide administrative and logistics coordination to the battle group. The SEALs and explosive ordnance demolition teams who deploy with the ship along with the battle group staff also play their roles in the big picture of the deploying force. Planning for ship and air wing operations is done through the Carrier Intelligence Center, which also is the center for the battle group's intelligence gathering mission. Strike Operations is responsible for gathering the threads of many operations and evolutions and producing a coherent, workable plan for each day's events, from meetings to air operations, weapons uploads, and even emergency drills such as general quarters and aircraft fire drills. The Combat Direction Center, or CDC, is the heart of the ship when it comes to monitoring and execution of the sometimes hectic operations of the ship. CDC includes modules for anti-air warfare and control, anti-submarine warfare, electronic warfare, anti-surface warfare, and surface contact tracking, backed up by the captain's tactical plot just behind the navigational bridge. Also, from the Tactical Action Officer in CDC comes control of the ship's close-in weapons system, the Vulcan Phalanx machine guns that can fire 3,000 rounds per minute of depleted uranium projectiles, and the NATO Sea Sparrow missiles that provide defense out to 7 miles. The Carrier Air Traffic Control Center is the ship's equivalent of approach control at a major airport. The air controllers in CATSI put the aircraft into a pattern and bring them back to the ship, where final control is shifted to either the automated carrier landing system or to the landing signals officers of the air wing and squadrons. The Air Operations Center keeps the big picture on all air operations, tactical and logistics. Movement of the ship from place to place and into ports and anchorages is planned and guided by the navigation team on the bridge. Whether moving through confined waters, conducting a precision anchorage, or coming alongside or getting underway from a pier, it's the Bridge Watch team guided by the nav team that makes it happen on time and precisely. The electronic equipment that aids all of the command and control functions has to keep running accurately and dependably. The electronics technicians and data systems technicians keep it all working. They keep the communications gear going too, so that the necessary services of the communications department can continue. Sometimes communications can be more fundamental and close up, as the signalmen of Big John demonstrate, requiring only the services of the sail loft to make repairs. Support of other functions of the ship and air wing comes from the Multifaceted Aviation Intermediate Maintenance Department, or AIMD. Repair and maintenance of aircraft systems, gauges, tires, airframes, handling equipment, ejection seats, parachute rigging, all manner of electronics, and even engine repairs are handled by AIMD. The day-to-day support so necessary to keep a city on the sea of 5,000 men supplied with materials, fed, their laundry clean, their personal necessities and luxuries provided, and even their haircuts come from the supply department. Supply procures, stores, tracks, and provides thousands of items. Supply also prepares over 15,000 meals a day and even pays the crew some $650,000 every payday. Whether it's a tube of toothpaste, a hot meal, a critical part, some technical procurement advice, an aircraft engine, or a gift to send home, Supply makes it available. Providing a more dramatic service is the weapons department. Receiving, moving, storing, accounting for, and loading bombs, missiles, and rockets for the air wing aircraft to provide the ship's firepower keeps the aviation ordnance men, weapons technicians, and gunners mates of the ship busy. The weapons department also provides close-in defense of the ship and maintains security in port or underway through the Master-at-Arms Force and Investigative Service. The Marine detachment of some 70 Marines also provides security. In addition to maintaining their combat readiness, Big John's Marines provide a standing ceremonial force for the frequent visitors to the ship. This will be the last cruise for Big John's Mardette, a ready-for-duty unit whose 25-year era on board has come to an end. The support services on board are virtually unlimited. The same full administrative support found on a Navy base is provided aboard. The ship's people are supported by a full-service personnel office, career information and counseling office, athletic facilities, movie checkout, a ship's newspaper and television station, post office, a print shop, a legal office, a library, and a chapel, which provides worship services for all faiths. The medical needs of the crew are met by a full range of services, from optometry to hospital to pharmacy and operating room. Big John's crew is well cared for. The dental facilities can do annual exams, fill a tooth, perform oral surgery, or even make dentures for every mouth on the ship. A safety department provides equipment, advice, and watchful eyes to monitor the multitude of activities on board. The ship even has weather forecasting services to take the outside temperature, monitor conditions around the world, and forecast the weather for the next combat mission. And what kind of ship would any Navy ship be without a deck force? The bosun's mates run underway replenishment rigs, handle lines, man the anchors, small boats, and vehicles in port, dispense paint and good advice, and keep up a multitude of spaces, including preserving and painting the entire ship's hull from the flight deck down to the waterline. But nobody would get anywhere without the engineers. When the engineering plant gets lit off, the lee helmsman passes orders down to central control. The lights are on, the heat and air conditioning working, the water running, and the sewage plant is operating. The engineering department has done its job to move a mighty warship through the water with the radar turning, steam to the catapults, and fabrication and repair facilities standing by. Backed up by a well-trained damage control organization, Big John has steamed out to sea for 25 years of readiness and service. The ship's 14th deployment became a homeward-bound journey upon the turnover with the Theodore Roosevelt Battle Group on March 25, 1993. From then on, it was hurry up and get home, but make massive preparations for an in-serve inspection and the Carrier Air Wing 3 fly-off and move off. And once in a while, we even had a little fun.
Sure that the lady is afraid of ever so true.
Together we have traveled the Med, and it's too easy to take for granted the fact that you have steamed a 25-year-old ship with a plant that is more than 7 years beyond overhaul, and yet you have always met every requirement and answered all the bells. From the emergency sortie out of Naples to high-speed dashes across the Med, the men from Maine Propulsion, P1 and P2, have fixed machinery and boilers, operated the plant, and probably have sacrificed more sleep and personal time than anyone else on this ship. You are unsung heroes. The crew of the JFK...
For those 25 years, whether heading out to sea, spending long months on deployment, returning to port, in peacetime and conflict, one thing has been constant and steady: the support of our families and friends. For that, we thank you.